At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast is now on YouTube. Go on YouTube and search Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast and click that subscribe button to never miss an episode. Welcome back, everybody, to another fantastic episode of the Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast. I am one of your hosts this week, Wrestling Chris G, and on the other line with me is a man that doesn't like dirty stuff and doesn't like garbage. It's good old Dougie Fresh. Dougie, my man, how you doing?
Damn right, it's disgusting. I'm fine. I'm still riding an episode high. We literally had like no downtime.
We literally finished and went right into this.
So yeah.
We are recording this episode as last week's Black and White episode on October 19th, 2021. There's not too much back talk that's going to happen on this week's episode because we're kind of going to get right on into it because you heard the downtime last week.
And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking of a way to try to differentiate that because I kind of feel like because obviously these are released weeks apart. So I'm kind of going to give just a brief description of what I have at my fingertips. So in baseball, the Los Angeles Dodgers defeated the Atlanta Braves in Game 3 of their series, 6-5. So that series is going to go at least 5 games.
Ooh, okay.
Boston is currently leading Houston 2-1 in the bottom of the 7th. They're looking to take a 3-1 series lead in the ALCS. The NBA basketball season tipped off tonight. The Milwaukee Bucks have defeated the New Jersey Nets, and taking a quick glance on ScoreCenter, the Lakers are up 46-41 midway through the second quarter on the the Golden State Warriors. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So obviously, it's kind of funny because you're hearing this at Thanksgiving, and you're going to go, well, no shit, these are some good teams, or I remember when those teams were good. So fill in your own blank, I guess. I
just found out some news about Pokemon real quick that you're probably not going to like.
Oh no.
So remember when we were saying they should have a whole episode just dedicated to this James Bond shit?
Oh, no.
So coming up pretty soon, I mean, we're months down the line from what you're listening to right now, but there's actually 2 episodes called Team Rocket versus Team Plasma, which looks like shit was finally starting to kick off, and those episodes were canceled, and the clips of those episodes were used in later episodes, but apparently they postponed those episodes due to the Tohoku earthquake and tsunami that was going on in Japan, and those episodes just never made air. So you actually did not get the full-blown James Bond episode that you were kind of hoping for, so they kind of skipped it, and it was an actual 2-parter. Two full weeks of some James Bond shit.
I never. Well, no, I don't even want to do the episode now.
But they did end up using those clips in future episodes. So we're gonna get the episode just in different different clips in future episodes that we're gonna be going over. So
that sucks.
yeah, I know. So I just saw it on the list because I'm seeing a bunch of episodes that were not aired. I see 3 as of upcoming episodes, so we're going to have to do a little bit of digging as to what went on and what was going on during these no-air episodes. So we'll keep you up to date, everybody, because they're coming up in a few weeks. But today's episode is episode 671, episode 12 of the Black and White series called Here Comes the Trubbish Squad. Or translated from Japanese, the Yabukuron Squad and a secret base, which that's kind of straight and to the point. I might take the Japanese one this week because that's literally what the episode was about.
That's too straight.
Here comes the Trubbish Squad. Is it Trubbish or Trubbish? Trubbish.
It's Trubbish because it's trash and rubbish. So
it's too close to Here Comes the Squirtle Squad.
Yeah, and spoiler alert, we do see a Pokemon wearing sunglasses, so
yeah. So
but I'll tell you, I'm always interested in the first game at home for the defending champions at the beginning of any season because that's when they get their rings. And I'm looking at these Bucks rings. I'm telling you, man, these championship rings are becoming more and more like pieces of furniture every year. Like this fucking...
You can trade it for a whole house.
I'm telling you, this Bucks ring, it looks like it would hurt your hand to wear it. It looks like it would put a dent in your mantle. I'm telling you.
Wow.
But I like me some shiny things.
I know you like shiny
Simple
things.
Man, huh?
So, all right. Today's episode premiered in Japan on December 9th, 2010, and here in the States, April 23rd, 2011. I know damn well yours happened before 2018, Doug. So what is your date this week? Because I'm going second this week.
On this date, April 23rd of 1789, George Washington moves into 1 Cherry Street, making it the first official presidential residence.
Really? Okay.
It was known as the Walter Franklin House. The White House was under construction, and George Washington was present at, and was kind of overseeing some of it. But it was not until 1800 that President John Adams, a.k.a. the second president, moved in. So the Franklin House was the official hub of government, basically. And obviously 1 Cherry Street was significant because that leans into the whole George Washington and the cherry tree legend and all that stuff. And, most times I just try to pluck something out of sports or a movie. And then sometimes I just don't play fair and I go from the 1700s and you're going, well, shit.
Yeah, I knew damn well I was going second this week.
Well, obviously, and you kind of tipped your hand with yours being from 2018, but sometimes I don't even play fair.
So, all right. Mine happened in 2018, and this was the day that Marvel's The Avengers Infinity War premiered in Los Angeles, California. So that that was a big movie. I mean, I love me some Avengers, and that movie was just killer. Like I love that movie, and I loved Endgame. So just take my money now.
And obviously, Infinity War was the first part, and you had the ending of half the universe being snapped into oblivion. You had the famous line from Spider-Man, Mr. Stark, I don't feel so well, or feel so good. What is it? You feel so good.
I don't feel so good.
I don't, yeah, and then, and spoiler for a movie that came out almost 4 years ago, but buck up. And then obviously the end line where Nick Fury's like, well, I know one person that I can contact, and you can see that he's getting his pager out, and he's trying to contact Captain Marvel, and he gets snapped, and you can see, oh, did it go through? Did it go through? And then you had to wait a whole nother year, right?
Yeah, a whole year, almost to the day, to watch part two to find out what the hell happened.
And boy, I'll tell you. And hopefully we get an episode around that date, because that would be fun to discuss.
Yes, it would. So, all right, everybody, you clicked on this episode, you want a Pokemon episode review, and boy, are we going to give you,
whether we want to or not.
Yes, because when we said we're going over every Pokemon episode ever on this podcast, we can't skip any. If we could, this would have been one of those episodes. But we're gonna go ahead and give you the story in itself. So we start this week's episode with our heroes on the road to Nacrene City, Doug.
Christ.
And it's at this point that Silem is sorry if anyone hears that there's an ambulance going by in the background, but they're looking inside of one of Silas's cases, and here comes these little kindergartners on their bikes, and they have a Trubbish in the back of their bike.
Now, wait a minute. Let's not give them too much credit now. These are trikes.
Tricycles. Okay. Well, they might as well be bikes the way that Ash and them reacted to it. So just saying.
That's fair.
So they're on their little trikes, and this Trubbish is in the back of the trike, and Ash is like, check it out, what's going on? And then you see these two women chasing after these kids, because why not? I mean, they can't control. It seems like nobody can control kids in this damn show, like, at all.
We call kids like this hoodlums.
Yes, like back in the 90s.
Just a bunch of street urchins. And they're throwing mud balls.
Yeah,
and
to get Ash and Silent and Iris out of the way.
They catch. I just went through it. I'm gonna have to scroll back because that was too funny. Silent catches one square in the fucking face. Yeah, and I mean, so does Ash, but Silent's just so caught off guard, and Iris gets out of it.
Iris just jumps up and uses her freaking her tree smart skills to just jump up on a freaking fence with 1 foot. Ash gets nailed in the damn face, and his hat comes off, which is a key point. And these kids just keep going forward, and freaking Trubbish picks up Ash's hat, and we go into the theme song of this episode.
And again, shame on you for not paying attention, Doug. I was under the impression that one of the kids picked it up. Looking at the actual clip, Trubbish
It just
kind of
stuck to him.
just stuck. Yeah, so I don't even like Ash is like, oh, they got my hat. Well, no, Trubbish is just sticky
Yeah, and nasty.
and nasty.
He's like the universe region of muck of muck.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Or Grimer if Trubbish evolves. I don't know.
yes, he does evolve.
So I would say Grimer then, because I don't know I don't know at this point what the evolved form of a Trubbish is. It's probably not great.
It's just a bigger trash bag.
Oh, of course it is.
I have it in freaking Pokemon Go, and it evolves into It's called a Garbodor.
A Garbodor. That's fine. So Ash is upset because they got his hat. Silence trying to wipe himself off with a handkerchief, and the teacher Danielle comes up and she's like, "I'm so sorry. Those kids are out of control. It's too much Ritalin or not enough Ritalin, whatever the fuck."
Not enough Ritalin.
I think Danielle's running with her grandmother, or her mother, sorry, and for whatever reason, we see Sandile pop up.
Yes, with its sunglasses.
And he's just looking like the gopher from Caddyshack, and he just pops up. He says Sandile, and he pops back down. And when we pan out, we find out that we're back at the kindergarten house ? Question mark.
Yeah,
headquarters ? Question mark.
They got a lot going on at this house.
They got a lot going on.
It's a Pokemon daycare. It's a Pokemon egg incubator where they take care of Pokemon eggs, and it's a children's daycare. And I mean, I'm fast forwarding into the to the end for a second, but the grandmother at some point in the episode, I believe it was the ending, says it's all the same. Training Pokemon and raising kids, it's all the same. So that's the reason that they do it.
Just kind of throwing it out there.
Yeah, I just want to, yeah.
So yeah, we get in there and we see a bunch of incubators, and we find out that the mother is a bit of a breeder, and we find out that the kids are from a class that she teaches. And
then they all get their introductions underway, but then we get the story behind the Trubbish. And the teacher is kind of pissed off because the kids brought this Trubbish back a couple days ago, and she did not want this Trubbish inside of the school, and so she told the kids, "No, you can't have this Trubbish." And the kids kind of backlashed, and they came in when they woke up the following morning and they looked out the window. There was a bunch of garbage in the back of the school. And it was at this point that the kids kind of barricaded themselves into this little garbage
clubhouse.
Yeah, garbage clubhouse. And this woman was just so mean to this Trubbish. Like she even went to the extent of picking up the Trubbish and taking the Trubbish all the way back to the garbage dump where the kids found it. Which, why are the kids by themselves in a garbage dump? Which was one question that I had to ask. But
she literally took out the trash.
Yeah, but these kids left unbeknownst to the teacher and her mother, which bad parenting on their part, just letting these kids just go out and roam.
Well, now, wait a minute. Bad parenting on them, but bad parenting on the parents, how about?
Yeah, I have a lot of questions on that. Like, where the parents are. It seems like these kids are sleeping at the school. There's a lot of fucked up stuff going on in this episode that Ash, if he was an adult, would have been like, wait a minute, hold on. Hold on. Wait a minute. Where's Silent in this? Silent is the older of the three, the oldest of the three. He should have stepped in, but
there's some kind of authority. There has to, because he's a gym leader. I mean, obviously, we know with Misty, gym leader does not necessarily equal mature.
Yeah, I mean, even with Brock too.
Yeah, he was 15, and he was a gym, but he was also looking after 8 kids.
But Brock was also giving out free gym badges for every pretty girl that walked in there.
This is also true. This is also. This is, but yeah. So I just a lot going on here. I mean,
yeah, there was a lot, but the story is that she brought the Trubbish back to the dump. The kids went back and got it, barricaded themselves with a bunch of garbage over in the area, and that was about it. And the kids are inside, and they don't want to come out.
I'm just baffled.
Very baffled. Doug, do you want to take this next scene where we get introduced to all these kids that have barricaded themselves?
So I wanted to point out, and I forgot to do it because I got so caught up with the awesomeness of the Team Rocket James Bond stuff and the little shrimpy Dweeble. I fucking completely forgot his name. But for the first time that I can remember, unless it completely went over my head last episode, Iris did not call Ash a kid.
No, that was the first episode that we've had in this run where she didn't call him a kid at all.
And I'm only bringing that up because she just now called him a kid because he's impressed by the garbage fort.
Yes.
That's a fuck. She had a 1-week streak going.
So, and she definitely killed it in this one because she called him a kid more than once in this episode. So she made up for it. She
had to do it twice because she didn't do it last week. So I mean, to be fair, it's not a bad looking fort.
No, it's not. I mean, it's a bunch of garbage.
It's a bunch of garbage, but
how did they get all this garbage here without waking up the teacher? That is a lot of garbage.
Or the grandmother. You got to imagine, because she's like an egg breeder, you got to imagine she's up like early as shit in the morning.
That is a refrigerator. That had to at least be one trip by itself.
Just where's the Jackie Chan meme of him going, the fuck?
So, okay. People, I know we're being funny when we're saying this stuff, but that's literally what we're looking at. Like, there's a lot of questions in this episode. Like, they're not going to get answered. So don't sit here and hope that you're listening to this episode and you're going to get some answers. No, it never gets fucking answered.
He said that's a refrigerator. So, this episode broke me a little bit. So Danielle's like, well, this thing looks like it could collapse at any second, which no shit. I mean, there's just piles of stuff. And the grandmother's like, would you all mind pitching in and helping us clean up? And I'm trying to see which, they're all like, oh, sure. We're not doing it. It's not like we're trying to get to a certain city to get a gym battle or anything.
I know, right, Ash? I mean, what happened to the Ash back in Kanto days where he was, we're not going to stop. We're going to keep going. I got a gym battle.
No, he would stop, but he would only waste 1 week.
Yes.
Or 1 day, I guess, in real time. He wouldn't be helping up at a fucking garbage pile.
No, but these kids are up in the treehouse and they come out of the little tree fort and they're like, this is for kids only and Trubbish, and adults are not allowed. And he's like, and the leader with his hat backwards, because he means business. He's like, right, everybody, no grown-ups allowed. And they're like, right, no grown-ups allowed.
He looks like the fucking main kid from Recess.
You're telling me. I mean, he looks like a baby version of Ash. This is probably Ash when he was his age.
That's it. That's it.
That's how it started.
You've cracked it.
So, Silent is just looking up and just going, yeah, they're just playing games. And of course, Iris is like, yep, just like kids do, just playing games. And Ash just fully gets into like a trance mode, and he's happy because he likes what these kids are doing because they're standing up for what they believe in.
They are, but they're being
Dicks.
stubborn about it.
Yes.
Dicks.
And wait until this episode comes out. I'm gonna get so much shit.
These 2 weeks are gonna be interesting.
Freaking Ash looks over at everyone and he's like, "Hold off, everybody, hold off. Let me go talk to him." He's like, "I play games like these all the time." Fucking Squid Game.
Oh, god damn it! I knew you were gonna.
Come on, it was wide open.
It was. You're not wrong.
I mean, I know you guys are listening to this episode in December, but I mean, we're still hot off the tails of Squid Game finally dropping on Netflix from being in #1 for fucking ever. But and it's everywhere. Great show. Watch both the subtitle and the English version. So great show. But Ash is like, I play games like these all the time. And they were lots of fun. So I kind of understand what they're talking about. And the grandmother's like, okay, great idea. Just go in there and see if you can reason with these kids. And the teacher is kind of skeptical. And she's like, well, if you don't mind. And Ash is like, no, I don't mind. It's not like I don't have to get to Nacrene City. So Ash goes and runs in to go and talk with these kids. And he's climbing over all this stuff. And the freaking kid, that's Ash's hat that the kid has on.
Right, so that's why he looks like Ash, because he's basically a miniature version of Ash at this point.
And the little kid, the leader, and he's like, intruder alert. And he's like, all right, Trubbish, go, attack. And Trubbish sits over there and jumps off and just starts laying sludge everywhere, which fucking smells disgusting.
Oh, my, yeah. This, because like, it's identified as sludge, right? But I was just thinking garbage juice. Yeah. Like the liquid that gathers at the bottom of the bin.
Ew.
Yeah.
So, and then after he missed Ash with the just juice of garbage, the kids have their little mud pies again, and they freaking throw it at Ash. And luckily,
this episode is disgusting.
And Ash just gets landed right in the face with another mud pie. Poor Ash in this episode.
His mouth was open.
And then they say, turn on the fan. And they got a fan rigged to a piece of rope. And as the fan's turning, it's turning the rope. And it freaking takes a piece of wood that's sitting under a table. And it collapses Ash. And Ash falls into a tire. It's just gross. And he's wiping off the freaking mud pie and all this.
I'd like to go back to your point earlier. How did nobody get woken up by? Because they were putting together this machine. Like, they had to rig up the rope. They had to get the little.
These are some smart ass fucking kindergartners.
And then freaking they're over there going, "What? How's it going, Ash?" And Ash is like, "Well, they kind of got us stuck."
So,
I mean, Ash is getting completely jobbed out here.
Yeah, he is. I feel bad, but
I don't.
Ash gets pointed like when this is funny. Like they as soon as Ash hits the tire, these kids are at the bottom. They're dressed up in cardboard. One kid has
They look like cardboard robots.
I know, they look like cardboard robots. One kid has a water gun. Another one has a sword made out of cardboard. One girl just doesn't give a fuck, and she just has a cone on her head. And then we have little Jimmy in the corner, and he looks like he's just the person to just go, yep.
Hey, every group needs a yes man.
So, and they stop, and we get back with Silent and Iris. Iris is like, what's going on in there? Ash, what are you doing? He's like, they kind of got me trapped. And he's like, will the two of you pull yourselves together? Sure, just give me a little bit more time, everybody. And the main kid, he's like, the prisoner needs to be quiet. Shut up.
And they shoot him and Pikachu in the face with water guns. And we don't see how they do it. I would have liked to see how they got him up in the treehouse. But the next time we see Ash, he's looking around the treehouse. He's like, this is kind of impressive.
And you're like, this is pretty dope. It's like, I'm impressed. And
one of the girls with a heart on her box is like, we did all this with a lot of help from Trubbish.
Yep. And Trubbish is sitting there saying hi to him, and he's like, we're not allowed to be friendly with the enemy, the leader is going.
And we find out that thankfully we find out that his name is Avery.
Avery or Avy?
Well, they call him Avy, but then he turns around to Ash, and he's like, that's Avery to you.
Yes. So
I'm going to call him Avery, because Avy is not a name.
Yeah, Avy is not a
AV is a club.
So Ash introduces himself. He's like, I'm Ash. This is Pikachu. Ash and Pikachu no longer have the mud on their face because they got it squirted off with the water gun. The writers just didn't want to be drawing mud for 20 minutes on Ash's face.
Well, that's their own damn fault.
And they're like, oh, I've never seen a Pikachu before, because remember back in episode 1 of Black and White, Pikachu is not in this region. So Pikachu is what you consider a rare Pokemon. And
they're like, can we pet it? And Ash is like, sure. And Pikachu hops down and volunteers himself like he's about to join the Wyatt family. And look it up if you're not familiar.
Wrestling reference.
Right. And the kids are, petting him, and they're kind of pulling his cheeks, and Pikachu's kind of into it, and Ash looks at Avery and goes, I don't want to be your enemy. I want to talk and kind of figure out what your plan is, what's going on.
And at this point, all the kids start being really, really hostile with Pikachu, pulling its tail, tugging its cheeks, and we know what that all leads up to.
Yeah, because Avery gets down and starts pulling his tail, and that's where it's like, oh, some shit's about to go down. And Pikachu, he gets up, like he's like Pika, and he makes himself tall, and
he's about to electrocute these little kids.
He stops because I think he realizes, oh, these are kids, this could be bad. And he's like, don't it? And then he kind of stops and kind of stands there, and he opens one eye, and he goes, okay, cool, y'all step back. And then he's like, Pikachu, and
Pikachu should have more self-control at this point.
Well, right. And I think Kanto version of Pikachu would have shocked these kids. And then Ash has to explain what an electric Pokemon is, and he's like, well, he can use this cool attack called Thunderbolt, and as if on cue, Pikachu is all too happy to volunteer, and he shocks the mess out of Ash. And he goes, oh, it's pretty intense, isn't it? And he's dirty again.
Yeah. So it's at this point that we get the kids' side of the story. The kids basically said, Trubbish is cute, and we love Trubbish. Trubbish is a great Pokemon. And our teacher took Trubbish away, so we had to go back and get our Trubbish back. And when we got Trubbish back, we brought all this stuff back because we're not going to listen to our teacher unless our teacher lets us keep Trubbish. And we get the Who's That Pokemon, and it's, of course, Trubbish in this episode, because why the hell not? And then from there, we go to one of the best parts of this episode. Doug, your Team Rocket.
Yes, and I think before we move on to Team Rocket, we should note that Ash has gotten his hat back.
Yes.
So yeah, we're looking and we're getting the report from. Looks like we're hearing the report from the news in the train station that a bunch of junk has disappeared from the junkyard.
Yes. Which is funny because it's from all these damn kids.
Which I appreciated because it's like, hey, this Team Rocket stuff isn't happening in a bubble. It is happening in the world. We haven't forgotten that Ash and Team Rocket are still in the same region, but we would much rather keep them apart at this point.
Yes.
And Team Rocket is sitting on one side of the bench, and another mysterious figure in a trench coat and hat walks up and sits on the other side, and he says,
"What time is the express train leaving?" Which is a code. And the guy goes 9 a.m. or he
Jesse.
does. He doesn't say a.m., but he's like 9 o'clock. He's like, "What did you wish to discuss with us?" James goes, and he's like, "Is the mission on schedule and according to plan?" This guy goes, and they're
everything is perfect.
Everything is perfect. It's just some James Bond shit. And I'd love Meowth in a trench coat.
Yeah, I'd get a Funko Pop of Meowth in a trench coat. I'm not a big Funko Pop guy. And then the mysterious figure who's not identified kicks the briefcase that he's holding over to Team Rocket's side, and it is
a replica rock.
Yes, and the guy said the details of this rock will be revealed very soon.
And that it's and James goes, "This is in good hands." And the guy kind of stops for a second and goes, "I just want to take this time to let you know that the boss is speaking very, very highly of you as of late. So keep up the good work."
And we see a train pull into the station, and that is used to be a transition back to the treehouse. And I want to take a second and make a note that if this was Kanto Team Rocket and they were getting praise, before they shifted over to the next scene, Team Rocket would have to do like a little victory dance. But this version of Team Rocket just sits there and goes, "This is the shit that we're supposed to do." And while the episode should completely focus on us, you got to go back to the kitty shit.
Yep. So, all right. And from here, we're back in the treehouse, and Ash is trying to reason with these kids. He's like, "I say we stop things right here, right now, make things right for your teacher. We need to get out of here. What do you say, guys?" And everyone is like, "No, did you not just hear us the past like 10 minutes? we're not going back out there. We love Trubbish. This is our teacher's fault, and we're not going. It's because of her that all of this is happening. She took Trubbish back to the junkyard, and when we said no, she still took him and dumped him. Trubbish isn't a bad Pokemon at all. Trubbish didn't know what he was doing wrong, and Trubbish was just very sad." So these are obviously little kids telling a story.
Ash is like, "Well, that's a fair point, but Trubbish can be kind of stinky."
and we get the line, probably the line of the episode. "No, Trubbish is not stinky." And freaking Trubbish opens its mouth, and a bunch of odor comes out, and all the kids are covering their mouth in disgust. Like, "No, Trubbish is not yucky at all." And Ash is like, "This thing is disgusting."
Yeah, Ash has the anime like stink lines over his face, and the kids, as they're saying he doesn't stink, none of them can open their eyes.
No.
And then, yeah, like you said, Ash lets out that scream, and Iris goes, "That sounds like Ash yelling." I'm like, "No shit."
Oh, I did skip over one of the girls inside of the thing right before it opened its mouth was like, he does kind of stink just a little bit. And then the rest of the kids were like, no, he doesn't stink. He doesn't stink at all.
and then everybody backs out. Ash has his mouth covered. Pikachu looks like he's about to collapse on Ash's shoulder, and then we see that Trubbish has his little feelings hurt, and Ash is like, "Look, I understand that Trubbish is a good friend."
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Did you hear that?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay, I burped. Sorry.
Yeah. So Ash actually talks to Trubbish, and he's like, "Don't you like Avery? Like, isn't he your buddy?" And Trubbish is like, "Yeah." And it seems like we're getting to a point of understanding, and then we hear a noise off in the distance, and we see the Sandile with the sunglasses, and the kids are like, "Intruder alert! Everybody prepare to attack!"
And they throw mud pies at this Sandile, and Sandile then uses what is this move? Because Ash ends up saying,
because Ash recognizes the Sandile, which thankfully he does. Stone Edge.
Stone Edge. There you go.
And Ash tells everybody to move, and then Ash takes the brunt of the attack, but doesn't look like anything hits Ash because he'd be on his ass. Nope. And then the kids start throwing the mud, and Sandile's like, "Well, this is some bullshit." And then he launches another Sand Edge, and I don't think he's hitting the kids.
I think he's trying to scare them.
Right, because the kids are like covering up pretty well. And then Trubbish is like, "Well, we can't be doing this."
And then it uses Toxic Spike.
Toxic Spikes, yeah. And Sandile's like, "Oh, you want to go?" And then Sandile gets hit. And then Ash tells Pikachu to use Iron Tail. And poor Sandile gets knocked. But he doesn't lose his sunglasses.
No.
And then Sandile. And then
Trubbish uses Sludge again, and then that's the end of Sandile in this episode.
Yeah, Sandile goes blasting off again.
So we don't get Team Rocket blasting off, but we get Sandile blasting off. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Doug. And I wanted to bring this up as a point. Wasn't Sandile the good guy at the end of Sandile's episode?
Yes.
So why the fuck are they being so mean to Sandile, especially when Ash recognizes the Sandile? Why didn't he just try to catch it or try to reason with it or something? Like he had Pikachu Iron Tail this thing, and then Trubbish sludged him, and he's just gone into oblivion.
Because we can't pick on Team Rocket because Team Rocket's doing cool shit.
So,
and we can't sludge the teacher in the face.
I mean, the hell? Why not?
That's a different episode.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, so Trubbish is all happy because they got rid of the Sandile. Ash is having a lot of fun with this whole thing, but then Ash gets his bubble broken because the teacher and the grandmother, along with Iris and Silent over on the side, they climb the garbage to find out what the hell's going on over here. And the teacher,
never mind, the shit's been going on for probably like a half an hour at this point.
And the teacher ends up getting a stick up her ass, and she's like, "Okay,
no, she needs a stick up her ass."
Yeah. And she gets pissed off, and she's like, "Ash, I sent you in here to come and reason with these kids, not to come and play with these kids. And since you're gonna sit here and play, then I'm gonna get these kids out of here by my own means. Kids, this Trubbish is going to leave." And the kids are like, "No, we love Trubbish." And she's like, "Oh, really? Oh, really? You love Trubbish? Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to scare Trubbish off. So, Deerling, come on out." He has a Pokemon, and Deerling comes out, and it's at this point that Ash sits there and he's like, you know what? I'm going to take you on. And then Pikachu jumps off and freaking Silent puts his hand on his face and he's like, oh, for fuck's sakes.
And Ash is like, I'm going to take you on behalf of the Trubbish squad because I'm part of the Trubbish squad. And all the kids are like, Ash is our hero. Ash is the man. And the teachers, the teacher's not going to give up. So the teacher sends
Dearling
to use tackle. And then Dearling's a little confused, but he's like, all right, that's a battle command. So he attacks Pikachu. And then Pikachu hits old Dearling tries to hit Dearling with a thunderbolt, but Dearling is a deer, and those fuckers are quick. And then she sends another tackle, but Pikachu gets out of the way, and Dearling goes crashing into some garbage. And it's apparently a load-bearing wall because if Dearling moves, Dearling's going to get squashed.
Yes.
And it's a little Dearling, so.
And we find out at this point that the teacher can't even call back Dearling at this point because if she calls back Dearling, all this garbage is going to fall, and it's not only going to fall, but it's going to fall on these kids as well.
Right. And Danielle's like, well, you have to get out of here, talking to Avery. And Avery's like, I'm not going anywhere without Trubbish. And a piece of junk falls, and it's going to smash old Avery in the head. And Danielle moves around and takes the brunt of the force. And we can see that despite all the effort, Ash is only able to hold back so much of the garbage, but the kids are being evacuated to the top of the tree.
Yes.
But it's basically down to Ash, Dearling, and Pikachu to hold the garbage.
And here comes Trubbish out of the woodworks, and he kind of sees the teacher trying to help the kid. So Trubbish starts using its sludge attack to knock all the garbage back so it's not going to fall on kids.
Yeah, he's knocking back chunks of the wall, and everybody's like, oh, thanks, Trubbish, you saved us. And Trubbish is giving a salute, and everybody's happy, and the teacher's like, oh, I guess that Trubbish isn't so much trouble. And, pardon me. And then we go back, and it's the stereotypical
goodbye. The leader of the Trubbish squad is starting to cry. He's like, "It's all our fault. I'm so sorry, teacher." And but he still wants Trubbish to stay. And it's at this point that the grandmother kind of reasons with Daniela, and goes, you know what? It's up to you whether we keep Trubbish or not. Trubbish is not going to be that bad because the more you care for a Trubbish, the less it smells. And
which would have been a handy piece of information to have about 15 minutes ago.
Exactly. And that's exactly what she brought up. And she's like, why didn't you tell me this a while ago? And she's like, sometimes you got to learn things on your own. And
I don't like the image of this, all these kids freaking hugging this bag of garbage.
Neither do I.
I don't care for it.
Because Trubbish doesn't have that much love yet. I mean, Trubbish still fucking smells.
He still smells.
So
he gassed out that goddamn treehouse.
So, but it's at this point now that they start saying, okay, fine, Trubbish can stay, and then it's getting into the nighttime, and I don't know. I mean, Ash is nice, and so is Silent and Iris, but they're picking up all the garbage that's around, and Silent and Iris are basically sitting there like, why do we gotta clean up all this garbage? But
yeah, and I mean, everybody's helping. All of Ash's Pokemon, Trubbish, the Pokemon from last episode,
Dweeble.
He's back out. Pansage is out there. Like, what the hell? And it's like you said, it's nighttime.
And we find out that they did this all night and that they ended up spending the night at the school.
For goodness, this is why he's behind. I mean, we said it last week, but this is why he's behind.
So it's now the end of the episode, and this is where we get the big point of this episode.
Yeah. The grandmother says, we can't thank you enough for all you've done. Here's a little gift from me, and it's an egg, and it's in like a glass case.
It's an incubator.
Thank you. It's late. Not as late, but it's late. And they're like, well, you'll see what it is when it hatches, and it's a little bit of mystery, and
the grandmother knows what it is, but she says you have to care for this egg to find out what it is.
And then she's like, oh, raise it well, and Ash is like, I will, because I'm the baby face, and yeah, so.
And that's how we end up leaving this episode. So we only got one Team Rocket moment this week. We find out Trubbish is staying at the school and it's going to be loved, and all these kids are happier than a pig in shit that Trubbish is staying. They're glad Ash and Silent and Iris came and helped them, and it ends happily. But why do we need this episode? Outside of making a bunch of funny jokes during this whole episode,
it's a fine episode. Nobody gets hurt. We get a little tiny little morsel of the Team Rocket story. I mean, at least last week they went back to him like 3 times. We get a little tiny little blink and you miss it. Ash gets an egg, which is interesting.
Yep.
That's something. I mean, the last time we had an egg, it was Togepi. Obviously, this won't be a Togepi unless Togepi has a pre-evolved form.
No.
So
yeah, I'm very interested to find out what is inside of this egg, because as of right now, I don't know what's in this egg.
Right.
And we're only going to find out together. And when we find out, you guys will find out. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you that's listening to this podcast already know what's inside of the egg, but we're not going to spoil it for ourselves.
Right.
So we're going to go week by week until we get this egg to hatch. But yeah, that was this week's episode, and I would say this episode was better than last week. I'll give it about a 2.5. I'm going to go up to your 2.5 that you gave last week's episode for this week. And what would you give this week's episode, Doug?
You know what? And you might say, well, you just love Team Rocket too much. I'm going to go down to a 2.
Okay.
I need a little more out of Team Rocket. Obviously, you weren't going to get a lot of conflict because you're dealing with children. The Trubbish ending. I mean, to find out that Trubbish stinks less the more he's around people and the more he trusts you is kind of a slap in the face, because, like I said, we should have found that out like 50 minutes.
Should have said that.
Yes, 100%. No, that's exactly right. That's the point of the episode. Dexter should have said the stink is lessened when he trusts his companion more, or whatever. Say it better than that, but that's basically it.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm going to go back down to a 2.
Okay. So that was this week's episode, and this week I have an Evolving Skies Sword and Shield Pokemon pack that I'm getting ready to open. People, one thing I have gotten on Twitter and stuff is, how do I have so many Pokemon packs? The Pokemon packs that I have, I get box sets. So the box sets that are with the Pokemon packs have 36 packs inside of each box set. So, and I'm not even just those, but I have my own like actual collection upstairs where Me and my son, we go to Walmarts and GameStop and different places like that to see if they have any Pokemon cards, and if they do, we'll grab a few, and that's how I'm getting these cards. So, Doug, what I do have a black card, which is probably more of a dud pack this week. But what energy am I going to be looking at this week?
I'm going to say psychic energy.
Boom, you got it this week, Doug.
Hey, I was due.
Yes, it was. Psychic energy. And then we have a Nuzleaf, an SQ, a Skiploom, Carvana, a Dweeble. Oh, look at that. We got a Dweeble. A Mareep, a Drowsy, a Scraggy, a Reverse Hollow Trainer Snowleaf badge. And then my rare this week is a Lilligant. So non-hollow. So yes, it is a dud pack this week. But again, if you want to see these cards and all the other cards that we have pulled on this show, follow us on Instagram at every Pokemon episode. Follow us on Twitter at PokeBreakdown. And if you're listening to this on the free feed and you want to hear next week's episode, it's already up there. Go and subscribe to Patreon. Patreon.com/everypokemon, and you'll be able to subscribe to any of the tiers there. We have tiers where you can get Pokemon packs mailed over to your home. You can even become a guest on this show, or you can just support our show on a weekly basis and be able to listen to an episode a week in advance. But yeah, that is it, Doug. Do you have anything else to add this week?
No, I think that's going to do it.
All right. Well, this was a great episode, everybody. Thank you all for listening. And if that is it, go ahead and say goodbye, Doug.
Goodbye, Doug.
And this is Wrestling Chris G telling all of you, don't miss next week's Black and White episode, but also don't miss this upcoming Friday's episode, Showdown at the Poke Corral, where we have Mel coming back onto the podcast to go over her review of the latest Pokemon episode and to talk about her podcast that she has gotten underway. So she will be returning to the show, so make sure you don't miss that. Other than that, I hope you all have a good night, and I will see you this Friday.